everybody, it's Miss Stilwell and Hudson, back to continue reading The Jungle Book. We are almost to the end. We're going to start the last section today called Rikki Tikki Tavi. And this is a part of the story that's not told in the movie, so it's a little bit of an added bonus onto the end of this story. Rikki Tikki Tavi was a brave and clever mongoose who fought a great battle against two conniving cobras living in the gardens of the big bungalow in Sagawili, India. Although he had help from Darzy, the tailor bird, and Chuchundra, the muskrat, Rikki did all of the real fighting himself. Rikki had a fluffy bottle-brush tail and a restless pink nose. His eyes were pink too, except when he was angry. When Rikki was angry, his eyes glowed a fiery red. And as he scuttled quickly through the long grasses, he uttered a mischievous sound that mimicked his name. Rick-tick-tick-tick-tick. Rikki did not always live in the big bungalow. Like most young mongooses, he grew up with his mother and father in a cozy burrow. But one day, a great flood washed him out of his home and sent him kicking and sputtering down a roadside ditch. The next thing he knew, he was lying in the middle of a garden path, and a small boy was standing over him saying, "Look, it's a dead mongoose. Let's bury him and have a funeral." The little boy's mother peered at the young mongoose. "Perhaps he isn't dead at all," she said. "Let's take him onto the house and dry him off." Rikki, of course, was not dead. As soon as he had been dried and warmed, he sat up, wiggled his nose, and looked around. Then he scratched himself, put his fur in order, and jumped onto the boy's shoulders. "He's tickling under my chin," cried the boy, whose name was Teddy. Teddy's parents laughed. "Let's give him something to eat," suggested Teddy's father. Rikki rubbed his nose against Teddy's ear, then climbed down to the floor. After a delicious snack of raw meat, he busied himself exploring the house. Curious about everything, he nearly fell into a bathtub, got his nose covered in ink from the inkwell, and burned his whiskers on the end of Teddy's father's cigar when he climbed onto his shoulder to see how writing was done. Rikki was truly enjoying himself. The next morning, Rikki dined on boiled egg and banana, scampering from one lap to another between bites. He was thrilled with his new family, for every young mongoose hopes to be a house mongoose when he grows up. And Rikki was no exception. His belly half full, a full belly makes for a slow mongoose, Rikki went out to explore the garden. Dashing among the tall grasses, citrus trees, and rose bushes, and bamboos, he licked his lips. This was fertile hunting ground indeed. Fluffing up his tail, Rikki heard a mournful cry coming from a thorn bush. Darzy, the tailor bird, and his wife were weeping. "What is the matter?" asked Rikki, his nose quivering. "We are very miserable," replied Darzy. "One of our babies fell out of the nest and Nag ate him." "That is very sad," Rikki agreed. "But who is Nag?" Just at that moment, a low hiss came from the thick grass nearby, making Rikki shiver and jump back. Then, inch by inch, the head and hood of a large black cobra rose into the air. "I am Nag," hissed the cobra, his wicked black eyes staring at Rikki. "Look and be afraid." Rikki stared at the giant snake, but only felt fear for a moment, because a mongoose is never afraid for long. Rikki had never met a cobra before, but his mother had fed him on dead ones, and he knew it was a grown mongoose's work to kill and eat snakes. And though his staring black eyes did not show what he was feeling, Nag knew this to be true, too, and his cold heart was full of fear. Rikki's tail fluffed up. "Well, do you think it is right to eat young birds who have fallen from their nest?" Nag didn't answer, but watched the grass behind Rikki flicker. He knew that a mongoose in the garden meant death for his family sooner or later, and he wanted to distract this newcomer. "Let us talk," Nag said smoothly. "You eat eggs? Why shouldn't I eat birds?" "Look out!" cried Darzy. "Behind you!" Rikki needed no prodding. As soon as the words were out of Darzy's mouth, he leaped into the air as high as he could. Hiss! Beneath him, the hooded head of Nagana, Nag's wicked wife, whizzed by. Rikki came down and bit Nagana's back, But he did not hold on long enough to kill her, because he was startled by the way she lashed violently about. "Wicked Darzee!" cried Nag angrily as Riki leaped to safety. The mongoose's eyes were glowing red, and his teeth chattered with rage. While Nag and Nagana slithered away into the grass, Riki trotted off to the gravel garden path and sat down to think. These cobras were something to contend with. But on the other hand, Riki was pleased with himself, for a young mongoose rarely survives an attack from behind. And so, when Teddy appeared a few minutes later, Riki was ready to be petted. As Teddy ran towards Riki, a tiny voice called out from the dust, "Be careful, I am Death." It was Karate, a small brown snakeling with a bite as deadly as the cobra's. At once, Riki's eyes glowed red again, and he danced up to Karate, rocking back and forth, and looking for a good place to bite the tiny creature. If Riki had known just how dangerous the small snake's poison could be, he might have been more cautious. But Riki did not know. "Look," Teddy called to his parents, "our mongoose is fighting a snake." Teddy's mother screamed and came running up behind his father, who was carrying a stick. But before they got to Teddy, Riki had jumped onto the snake's back, biting as close to the head as he could. The bite paralyzed the little snake, and Riki was just about to eat him when he remembered that a full mongoose is a slow mongoose, and he needed to stay thin and quick if he was going to fight Nag and Nagana. "You've saved Teddy," cried Teddy's mother, gathering Riki up in her arms and carrying him into the house. Riki felt proud, of course, but he didn't understand all the fuss. Teddy's mother may as well have petted him for rolling in the dust. He was, after all, enjoying himself. That night, Teddy carried Riki off to bed with him, but as soon as the boy was asleep, Riki went on his nightly rounds throughout the house, making sure that all was safe. Round by the wall, he ran into Chuchundra, the muskrat. "Don't kill me!" cried Chuchundra, for he was whimpering. He was a whimpering, fearful creature. "I do not kill muskrats," Riki said. "I kill snakes." "How do I know that Nag won't mistake me for you on one of these dark nights?" Chuchundra said, quivering with fear. "My cousin Chua, the rat, told me." "Told you what?" Riki asked, full of curiosity. "Shh! Nag is everywhere," Chuchundra replied. "You should have talked to Chua in the garden." "Tell me, Chuchundra, or I will have to bite you," Riki said. Chuchundra did not answer, but sat down and cried. "Can't you hear, Riki Tiki?" he said mournfully. Riki Tiki listened, and though the house was still, he could hear the faintest of scratches, the dry scratch of a snake's scale on bricks. "That's Nag or Nagana," Riki told himself, crawling into the bathroom pipes. Wasting no time, Riki scurried off to Teddy's bedroom. There was nothing there, but in Teddy's mother's bathroom, Riki saw a loose brick and heard hissing voices just outside in the moonlight. "When the people are gone from this house, the mongoose will leave as well, and the garden will be ours again," Nagana hissed. "And as soon as our eggs in the melon bed hatch, our children will need space and quiet. The big man is first to be bitten. When you have done that, come out and tell me, and we shall hunt for Riki Tiki together." That's where we're going to stop for today. I wonder who's going to win in this battle of the snakes versus the mongoose. Tomorrow, I'm hoping that during our reading, you guys will be able to see my Mowgli, my parents' dog Mowgli, so that you can see kind of the inspiration of why I chose the story, The Jungle Book. I hope you all have a great day. Tomorrow's going to be our last reading, so I hope everybody tunes in and watches. All right, goodbye, everybody.